Hey guys, it's Danny. Today I'm super excited to show you my Valentine's Day haul. In my gift ideas video, I told you that most probably what me and my fiance will do this year is just take a tour of the flower shops and garden centers we have in our area. Sadly, here in Cyprus where we live, we don't have orchid nurseries. We don't really have many nurseries per se, but we do have quite a few garden centers and flower shops. Most of the times, when it comes to orchids, there isn't much variety, but from time to time, you never know what you will find. And to be fully honest, unexpectedly, I found the biggest thing of all. It doesn't necessarily have to do with orchids, but I found a Hoya collector and seller. We'll get to that. I managed to find myself a whole bunch of nice little plants and one orchid that I'm very excited for and I'm going to share with you today. But with that said, hope you'll enjoy hanging out with me. We're going to have a light-hearted video today. Let me know in the comments, did you get yourself a plant this holiday? We use any excuse for getting plants, right? What did you guys do? Let me know in the comments if you did anything right. So with that said, don't forget to give this video a like if you end up enjoying it, and why not subscribe? I post plant content very frequently, multiple times a week. What do we start with? I bet you want to start with the orchid. No, it's going to be in the middle. We're going to start with the carnivorous plants. Alrighty, so first off, let's start with the carnivorous plants. I've always kind of wanted to get myself a little bit more into this or these types of plants. In the past, for many years, I kept going back to my pinks, to my droseras. They were all great, but I was never like a super avid collector. I don't think we're at that stage just yet, but I do really like some of these carnivorous plants, some of which I did have in the past as well. And I'll show you what I found. I do notice that recently they have become much more available in flower shops and garden centers. So what I have here are probably some of the most popular carnivorous plants on the market. Doesn't mean they're not beautiful, but obviously, maybe for a true collector, these are super boring. These are like my white phalaenopsis, right? Anyway, this is a Nepenthes hybrid. This is the tag, Nepenthes hybrid. Could be a Lata, I don't know, maybe. What do you guys think? I've had Nepentheses, is that the plural? I've had them in the past. They produce these beautiful pitchers. They can actually grow bigger. They usually grow quite tall and the pitchers can get quite big. I've had them in the past. They did not make the move here to my new country, which is Cyprus. All of these things are purchased locally from Cyprus, by the way. But yeah, I did have my Nepenthes for quite a number of years. I don't know exactly why I didn't bring it. Probably it was a space-related issue because, you know, I brought all of my orchids, but I'm looking forward to growing this. Speaking about Nepenthes, there are many beautiful varieties. Some of them have patterns on these pitchers. It's a beautiful plant, slightly big. It does well if you can hang it because it does not take a lot of space. So yeah, I'm looking forward to growing these guys once again. And since my climate is mainly warm, I have flies even in winter. If I put something sweet outside, they're gonna come. I always have something to feed it with. Next up, we have a Sarracenia. Now with Sarracenias, I cannot say I have a lot of experience. And you can see here, this one is again called Sarracenia. These are two very different varieties again. I don't seem to have more information on my tags, obviously. Again, if you have more information for me on what these could be, let me know. I am quite the novice in these guys. But I do see them all the time in the flower shops. And this particular one is really beautiful. It has red pitchers. Is it also called a cobra lily? Is this the one? I will have to do some homework, which I'm always excited for. But I decided to try them out and just start growing some carnivorous plants as well. Very basic at the moment. I'm not going to collect very hard to find species and things of the sorts. I'm gonna try my hand with these. This particular one I really love for the beautiful veining on their pitchers. I did see a documentary a long time ago. I don't remember which one, maybe a David Attenborough one, in which they were saying that this veining, it has a strategic effect on the flies or on the insects that maybe confuses them or something like that, and they cannot make their way out when they go inside here. Am I wrong in what I'm saying? It was a long time ago. I think I was quite young, and I remember thinking, wow, that is so interesting. That is so evil, but interesting at the same time, right? So I really like this veining, and it will be really fun to learn more about these plants. And this one, is this a Sarracenia again? Yeah. Oh, we have a full tag on this one. It's a Sarracenia purpurea. Usually when you see the name purpurea, you should expect something purple. Actually, as a word, purpuriu in Romanian is kind of synonym to purple. This I have never seen in flower shops. Probably it is becoming very, very common nowadays. But since I don't actually go looking for carnivorous plants, I never noticed it until yesterday when we actually went. And it was just beautiful. You can see there is a sort of a resemblance between these. Yes, they look very different and they're different varieties, obviously. They have the same tactic, right? If you know the Venus flytrap, it has that little trap that closes when you activate the little hairs. If you look at the Nepenthes, they have pictures at the end of their leaves. Practically, they are an extension of the leaves. Well, these guys have this long column with a sort of a lid covering to some extent the opening, even though this one, it doesn't cover anything. And if you remember the Droseras, which, yes, I still have, there we has them. They live in my cabinets. In the cabinets, and especially in winter, I have some major issues with fungus gnats, obviously, because it's slightly more damp in there, right? And they really like that situation. So instead of opting for all sorts of other solutions, which are great, starting from mosquito bites, ending with sticky paper, absolutely fine techniques, I actually prefer carnivorous plants. I love Droseras. And here I have two of them, if you remember. I'll link it down below to that video if you missed it. We divided them, we repotted them, and from two plants that I purchased from the flower shop, I actually got quite a few of them. I divided them, they grew, they're full of sap, they look wonderful. And sadly, I'm running out of fungus gnats, but we'll figure it out, no worries. With these guys, I kind of know what I'm doing. With these, not so sure, I'll be honest. I don't know what I'm gonna do, but we'll figure it out as we go, right? That's what we do here on this channel. So yeah, at the flower shop, there are a few other things like Droseras and also the Venus flytrap. I have the Droseras, the Venus flytrap. At the moment, you know what? I don't want it all that much, but I'm looking forward to growing these guys. And even though prices really do differ from location to location, I can tell you that these guys in my area cost €5. I mean, they're really affordable and they look absolutely amazing, especially like this one. Maybe because I didn't ever see it before. I really like how it looks like. So looking forward to maybe making some content and learning about them together with you guys, and why not together with your help. I'm gonna watch some of Brad's videos and see what's what. But yeah, looking forward to discovering some new things. Let's look at the orchid, shall we? We need to move. It doesn't fit in this frame. Hold on. Ta-da, here we are. For those of you who guessed Cymbidium, yes, it is a Cymbidium. These types of orchids are actually some of the most popular orchids in Cyprus, apart from Phalaenopsis, probably because you can actually grow these guys outside all year long if you shelter them a little bit from sun, obviously, which would definitely scorch them, and also from the very strong winds in the winter. I personally tried to grow some Oncidiums outside, but I do have some limitations. Down below, there are some people, I don't want to flood them, and I have to be very, very careful how I water stuff on the terrace sometimes, so I cannot have an automated system because that typically overflows. I don't want to risk it, so I always kind of slacked with watering. Also, the past year was super hot, and being that we're not ground level here, there's a lot of concrete, there's nothing to help with this heat. That concrete reflects the heat, it just remains heat. It's not like the ground, which cools down in the nighttime. And of course, these guys were in pots, they weren't in the ground. So they got no break in the summertime here, they didn't last. So you might have noticed that I personally stay away from Cymbidiums, which is a shame because many people have Cymbidiums and they request videos on Cymbidiums. And you know what, I kind of want to deliver. But since I don't have a lot of space in the grow room, I'm not gonna have a lot of Cymbidiums, but I do want to have a few. I have the yellow one in the back. I don't know if it's in frame. Let's see. There he be, right there in the back. He's a joy, he's a tiny one. This guy is a big one, but he's peloric. He's a super beautiful pink peloric Cymbidium that I didn't see before. Although there is quite a lot of variety here, and especially around this time of the year and in autumn, you can find a lot of Cymbidiums. I've never seen one of him, and I decided to, dedicate a little bit more space in the plant room for him, just to make a few videos on Cymbidiums. But when our house will be ready, I'm gonna plaster the garden with Cymbidiums. You just wait and see. If not in the ground, then definitely in pots on drip irrigation, you know, all of that stuff. There's a whole lot of freedom you can do when you're ground level. When you're not, I discovered you can't do much, especially when you have people living down below, which don't deserve you flooding, you know. So as expected, I did not find a whole big variety of orchids because I do have a lot of orchids, but there were a whole lot of Cymbidiums, one more beautiful than the other, and I just couldn't. I just got an Cymbidium. I'm gonna put him there in that little shrine where I used to have other houseplants that have some pests at the moment. So this is where I'm gonna keep them. I'm not gonna put them outside because it's hard to water. I'm not gonna go in the heat tube, water them, you know. So he's the only orchid that I got in this haul, but I'm very, very happy. Not fragrant, it's not fragrant. Some Cymbidiums do have a smell. This guy smells a little grassy. Some of them have quite a sweet smell. But he's a big boy, but he's beautiful. Look how pretty he is. I just could not help myself. And lastly, the thing that I am most excited about and mind blown about, I found a seller that is passionate about Hoyas, and they have lots of Hoyas, the type of Hoyas you don't find in flower shops. We just stopped by this flower shop in Larnaca. It's called Mirela Flowers, and apart from the typical flower shop plants that you can find, you also find Hoyas, apparently lots of them. The owner is actually really passionate about Hoyas and a few other things. He actually has some interesting cacti. Anyway, maybe we'll get into more detail when we visit him again. We didn't have much time yesterday, but I was blown away. Now, there were a few Hoyas that are indeed some of the more expensive ones or more popular ones. People call them rare. I like to stay away from the term because I personally, from my own experience, don't know how hard it is to find those Hoyas. Just because they're not in typical flower shops doesn't make them rare. We know the story with orchids, right? So I'm not entirely sure how accurate that thing is. So I'm just gonna call them not so common Hoyas, right? So he had some of those as well, but they were small cuttings, just imported. They weren't rooted, so obviously he needs to root them first and propagate them and so on. So I couldn't like buy necessarily all the things that I saw there and that I kind of wanted, but I did find myself a few really good ones. Let's get to them, right? So let's start with this one. All of these, by the way, they're not like the more expensive stuff, but they're also not the type you easily find in garden centers or flower shops. So here we have the Hoya Optimistic. Look at that. This is a fuzzy type of Hoya that can grow slightly large. It can have larger leaves, but also very fuzzy leaves. And look at the flowers. Look how pretty they are. I'm gonna try to give you a better look on the screen. They're red. Oh my goodness. I'm not entirely sure which of these are fragrant, which are not. Some Hoyas can be very fragrant, but you know, I'm very excited. I limited myself to 5 because I didn't know how the day would end, what I would end up buying. We already got the Cymbidium and the Carnivorous plants, so I only got 5 because I can come back. It turns out I didn't find anything interesting for the rest of the day, but it's okay. So I chose these, which might not necessarily be quote-unquote what they call rare, but I find them to be glorious. You know me, I love red. I love this one. Next up, we have a Pubicalix. I had Pubicalix in the past. Do you guys remember? Beautiful one. I found it again, but I thought, well, I'm gonna buy it some other time because I want to try some other stuff. This is a Pubicalix Splash. It has, well, the leaves are a little stained by the hard water or the fertilizer, but it does have gray splashes on the leaves. I'll give you close-ups of these. Maybe I'm gonna clean a little bit the leaves and then show you. This one has beautiful red fuzzy flowers. It looks like a typical Pubicalix, but it has that splashing on the leaves, which is very sought after, apparently, in the Hoya Enthusiasts Club, from what I see. Also variegation, but that's a whole different story. I forgot to say, these have great prices. They are really affordable compared to the prices that I've seen online. Some were 10, some were 12, some were 15. I don't remember which is which, but they were all in the same kind of price range, which I find very good, especially because these were imported with phytos and all of that stuff, you know, it's kind of hard to import stuff. So yeah, this is Pubicalix Splash, really, really beautiful cutting. This one, maybe I'm stretching it a little bit, but this is a Imbricata. It's a green variety. There are some splash varieties as well, or with a sort of mottled pattern. This particular Hoya is super interesting. It likes to position its leaves like flush with a wall. It kind of climbs on surfaces just like most Hoyas, but the leaves take the shape of little sucker cups. It's so interesting. You need to Google it and see it. The downside is that people say they're a little finicky, they like a very high humidity and all of that. I don't know about that. Obviously, I've never had this one. I have a plan. I mean, if it does indeed struggle in my ambiental humidity, I can put it in a terrarium, which I'm working on. It's quite a big aquarium that I want to transform in a terrarium. So this one will have space to just climb on the glass or on the surfaces that I put there, because I think this one shines when it's kept next to a wall or a piece of wood, something that it can climb on. I think it's just amazing. I cannot believe I found this one. Again, very affordable, but it might be one of those that ends up not making it. I don't know. People say it's finicky. From what I understand, it's kind of tricky to make bloom. I just wanted to survive because I think the growth pattern is really interesting and amazing to discover and film and share with you. This one, this is one that I've always wanted ever since 8-9 years ago when I had the other two. I was thinking, oh, I want to order this one one day. One day I will find it for sale. And then I started to collect orchids and kind of piped it down with everything, but I finally found it. This is a multiflora, or it's also known. I don't know how fresh this cutting is, but there's a little peduncle here. Oh my goodness. Okay, so this is also known as the shooting star Hoya because the flowers have kind of pulled back petals. This is what I can describe it as. Maybe I can find a picture to show you actually. But yeah, the flowers on this one are really interesting, not like other Hoyas. Also, the growth pattern is weird. I heard from Summer Rain that taxonomists kind of want to put it in a different family of orchid. What am I saying? Stop it with the orchids. They want to put it in a different genus, not in Hoya, maybe in something else because it does not vine. It's more of an upright type of a plant. Also, the leaves, when they are fully grown, they look more like coffee plant leaves to my eyes. They're not as fleshy, as waxy as other Hoyas. Hoyas are also known as wax plants. These ones are very thin. It's the flowers that behave kind of similarly to other Hoyas. So far, as I understand, it's still a Hoya and it's still absolutely beautiful, and I cannot believe I finally found it. I had my eyes on this one 9 years ago. My goodness. Okay, and the last one that I picked this time is this is the one with the weird name, I don't know, you're gonna have it on the screen. If I'm not mistaken, this one has really nice peachy flowers. I don't remember. Anyway, I went with the flowers with some, I went for the leaves with others. I really love Hoya flowers. I don't know how difficult these ones are. You can see this one is actually very, very different. It might also be more thirsty. There are so many varieties and species that take kind of different care, and they're not all very easy as the Carnosa. So if any of you are in the Hoya collector club, quote unquote, you don't have to be in any club. If you have Hoyas, collect Hoyas or know more than me, I would appreciate some tips down below, some thoughts with any of these, because I'm so incredibly excited. I said in a very old video that if there's one thing I am more prone to collect other than orchids, it's Hoyas. The problem with Hoyas for me is space. These guys are vining plants, they need a lot of space, and considering that in the past few years I had pretty big pest issues, things with a lot of leaves didn't really attract me all that much, to be fully honest. And also the fact that I don't really have a lot of light in this particular room, again, discouraged me from having Hoyas in a lot of space. But now I have a lot of grow lights. I do have more space in my grow room since I filled this wall slowly and surely as well. So honestly, I think I can arrange a little bit of space and make some room for more Hoyas in my life. I actively took a break from Hoyas and I said, no, it's not what I need in my life right now because I was getting a little overwhelmed with the pest situation on my orchids. But I think I'm handling it now. You know, as you progress, you learn, you find new techniques that work great for you. So I'm ready. And because I found this person that, I'm just so excited that let me tell you something. As an orchid collector and a creator, the fact that I don't live in an area that has orchid nurseries kills me inside. It really does. I wish, I can only dream of how it would be to just walk in the nursery and find all of these amazing orchids that I can pick and take home with me. I can only imagine that. We wanted to actually take a trip before the pandemic, and right in the month when we wanted to go take a trip and visit an Orchid Expo in a different country, the pandemic started. So that dream flew out the window, to be fully honest. And right now, you know, I'm not a big traveler, but ever since the pandemic, I became even more scared and, you know, just wary of traveling in general. So visiting an Orchid Expo, not in the near future. Now we have other priorities we need to think about, so it's not gonna happen. And this is from the point of view of the orchid passionate. From the point of view of the orchid content creator, I cannot deliver you guys some really nice stuff that I could if I had a nursery, right? I wish I could, but it's just something that you will not find on my channel. And you know, that's a little sad for me, but that's okay. I'm not gonna go in the corner and cry about it. You know, there are other channels that can provide you with that. I wish I could, I can't. But imagine having that feeling and stumbling upon a Hoya grower. I got a little bit of that feeling of how it is to go into a nursery full of plants that you actually like, that you're interested in. Even though I'm not actively collecting at the moment, I still love them. I had them for a long time and then I took a break, but it's still that feeling. I imagine this is how it feels to walk into an orchid nursery. That was super awesome. I cannot believe that we discovered this place. And it feels like I filled a void that I had, you know, with orchids. It really feels like that. Anyway, so again, if you want to visit him, check him out. He is Hoya in Cyprus on Facebook, has the address, has the map there. You can see some pictures of other Hoyas he has for sale. So with that said, I think it is time to end. I cannot be more happy, to be fully honest. Plant-wise, I'm over the moon. And yeah, I guess you should stay tuned for more Hoya plant content if I manage not to like lose them. I hope I won't. But yeah, thank you guys so much for hanging out and listening to me blab. I really vented today, but I feel like I can talk to you guys when it comes to plants, right? We don't have to know each other to get each other, don't we? Anyway, so yeah, thank you so much yet again for listening to me, for watching this video. Hope you have a great day and let me know more about these Hoyas if you have more information for me. You can also follow me on social media. I'm at MissOrchidGirl pretty much everywhere, but most importantly, do subscribe to this YouTube channel for weekly orchid content. I'll see you tomorrow, or no, Wednesday. Okay, bye.